Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Orla and I'm delighted to be joined by Coder from Theobald Software, who'll be talking to you today about SAP Processes in Microsoft Power Platform as easy as pie. Remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC22. Don't forget to check out our Resource Centre. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebook, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit SharePointEurope.com and click the content link at the top. Join us next week for 7 live Azure webinars. Topics include Azure Monitor, Azure Data, DevOps, Azure Kubernetes, Azure Hybrid, Azure Static Web Apps, and Serverless Applications on Azure. A week not to be missed. Find out more at SharePointEurope.com/Azure-week. Deep dive into topics of your choice with the ESPC22 tutorials. Experience a full-day expert-led workshop on the SharePoint framework, search security, AI, hybrid work, Azure Arc, Microsoft 365, or Microsoft Viva. Find out more at SharePointEurope.com/ESPC22-tutorials. Our ESPC22 early bird sale is now on. Save €200 on 3- and 4-day tickets. Find out more at SharePointEurope.com. The webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any question you have in the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre. And now I'm going to pass you over to our presenter, Coder. Hello, Coder.
Hello, Orla. Thank you so far for the introduction. Now I'm sharing my screen, so I hope now everyone can see my screen.
We can see it. Thanks, Coder.
Okay, perfect. So let's start again. Hi, everyone, and thank you again for joining our webinar about integration of SAP processes in Microsoft Power Platform. My name is Koda Elsein. I'm working now for about 13 years, more than 13 years for Theobald Software. I'm responsible for product management and pre-sales in the EMEA region. And I would talk to you today about the possibilities to integrate SAP processes using the Power Platform. I would give you a short introduction at first about our company, what we offer. Then I would talk with you about the product architecture of Unio, our product that enables the process integration with SAP. The more focused, the focus today would be more on the live demo, where I have prepared a live demo to show you how we can use the Power Platform for process integration with SAP, and then we can talk sure about the next steps if you have any use cases and need help from us, so we can discuss that, and sure we can ask all your questions that you have. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write it, and we would have enough time at the end to discuss the questions. So let me start with the short overview about Theobald Software. So the company Theobald Software has been founded in 2004. We are a software vendor specialized in the development of SAP connectors and SAP interfaces. We have more than 60 employees. Our headquarters is in Stuttgart, Germany. We have other offices in Seattle, USA, in Paris, France for the French-speaking market, and in China. So just to be near to the customers, to the partners, and to the market. Worldwide, we have more than 3,500 SAP customers from all industries and all sizes. And we work with more than 200 partners that include at one side technology partners and software vendors, like for example SAP. We are an SAP partner. our software is certified by SAP. We have partnerships with other software partners like, for example, Microsoft, Nintex, and so many others. On the other side, we have a big network of partners who provide consulting and implementation. If you have projects and need an external help, for example, for implementing a project or for strategic consultation and so far. So that is so far a short overview about Theobald Software. Now let me just give you here a short overview about the solutions, the products that we offer. So as I've said, we are a software vendor for SAP integration. So we offer different SAP connectors, different SAP integration platforms for different use cases. So here on the right side, for process integration, we have two products, as you've seen. So Unio, it's our product for SAP process automation and process integration. So that would be the focus today. We also have another product that's called ERP Connect Services that is for the SAP integration with SharePoint on-prem, for example, and so far. On the left side, we have SAP connectors for the area of data analytics, business intelligence, and so far. So here we offer different connectors. Some of them specialized for specific platform. For example, this one here is an SAP extractor for the Alteryx platform. We have here an SAP extractors for the SQL Server integration services as ETL and so far. And then we have a standalone SAP extraction platform that can integrate SAP systems with all important platforms for business intelligence, for data, for analytics. So that can be, for example, databases and data warehouses like Snowflake, Azure, and other. That can be an integration with data lakes, with the data lake, for example, in Azure, in Amazon, in AWS, or in Google. And sure, for self-service scenario with specific business intelligence tools like, for example, Tableau, Power BI, Click, MicroStrategy, and the others. So as you see, we are specified in the integration with SAP for different scenarios and so far for different environments. And today our focus would be here about the process integration using Unio, and we would focus today on a use case with the Microsoft Power Platform. So let's see now together here the architecture of Unio. So at first you have your SAP system, so it can be an ERP system, it can be an ERP on HANA or an S4HANA, it can be running on-prem, or you can host it, for example, in the cloud. Either you host it by yourself or by a partner or by SAP and so far. That's all supported, no problem. And the other SAP system from the business suite are also supported, for example, SAP CRM, SRM, and so far, or the industry-specific systems are also supported. Ensure all the possible modules, for example, modules for financing, modules for sales, for HR, all that is supported so far. Then Unio is a service, is an application that you would run it and host it on a Windows environment. It has two components. It has a designer component that would run in the browser, where you can define your connection to the SAP system. And there you can define the service, the REST service. For defining the REST service, you have three options. The REST service can, let's say, extract data from your SAP systems directly from the SAP tables, for example. So that would be a REST service that offer a read access to your data. For read and write access on the SAP side, you would use a so-called function module. Yeah? For example, you have there a function module, let's say, to change customer master data or to create a customer, or maybe to read data, yeah, and just give me the details of some customer or give me the list of customers. Yeah? So that can be done with the function model, and in Unio that's possible, that you would create here a REST service based on that function model. So any function model is supported. It can be standard function model delivered by SAP system, or you can write your own function model, a custom function model. So that's all is supported. So for some process in SAP, there is no standard function model. There is only a so-called transaction. So that means you are using the SAP client, SAP GUI, yeah. And in the SAP client, there you have some windows where you can enter your data and so far and get the result. Yeah? And that's called an SAP transaction, and that's also possible with us. Yeah? So here you have all then the possibilities to read the data from your SAP systems, or to write data back, or to change data in SAP, either using a function module or using the SAP transaction. Okay, so you would define that, all that in Unio, and that is then provided as a REST web service, and Open API is then supported, and then you can consume it, let's say, from any platform, from any tool that can call that web service. So we see some use cases for example, in the area of automation and RPI, so where you have some tasks, some daily tasks or weekly tasks, or would you like to automate that, and to get directly data from the SAP system, or to write data back into the SAP systems. We see that in the area of business process integration. So here again, you have third-party systems, so that can be Microsoft Dynamics 365, that can be Salesforce, that can be Nintex, that can be, you have some processes in Power Apps, and so far on in Power Automate, and all that can be then integrated directly with SAP using Unio. And then we have here the use cases for the data management. For example, let's say material data management or custom data management, and so far. So you have an external system, and where you may edit, or where you may need some master data from your SAP systems. That all is possible. So the big benefit here that Unio gives you is you can access directly your SAP systems. If even all the SAP versions that's supported, you don't need to any big configuration on the SAP system, or any big installation, or any big preparation in the SAP system. You just need an SAP user that has the access rights to connect to the SAP system, that has the access right, for example, to read the data or to write the data. So that's all what you need. Yeah? That's all what you need. And we connect to the application server using the SAP RFC protocol. So that's more reliable, for example, than other options, like, for example, OData. Yeah? And you can use all the existing tables and function models, and again here transactions. Yeah? That's all is possible. You would use it in a web browser. You don't need this SAP GUI for that. Yeah? And it's easy to configure, to install, and just in hours. Yeah? You can install it, configure it, and get started with that. Okay, so that was so far here about the architecture of Unio, and now I would like to show you all that in a live demo. So for that, let me here start with SharePoint list. So I have prepared here just a simple SharePoint list where I have sales order. So I would here create a new order in the SharePoint list. Just here create a new item. I have prepared that with some default values. To create the sales order in SAP, I need some fields. For example, here the field for the sold to party and ship to party, so that the customer, let's say, I have here need some information about the sales organization, the distribution channel and division, and I need here the ID of the product or material, for which I create the sales order and the quantity. So let's take maybe here quantity 11. Just to change some data, and let's say now here save. Okay, so now I have created here the sales order in the SharePoint list. I have now a Power Automate flow that would run automatically when this item has been created. So let me go here and show you that. Okay, so now as you see here, that is here my Power Automate workflow that should be running now. So you see here I have run, I have tested that 1 hour ago. Let me show you here the details of that Power Automate. So I have here a trigger. As you see, the trigger is just when a new item has been created in my SharePoint list. And then here I have a custom connector. That custom connector is just accessing the REST service that we have created in our product in Unio to create the SAP sales order. We would see that in details. And so that would create the sales order in SAP, and then we get a result back, and with the result we update our SharePoint list to write the order number that we get back from SAP, for example. So okay, so if we see now that here you see we have this run here, so that was successful. That means if I go now to my SharePoint list here and update that now, refresh that, so now I would see here the sales order that comes from SAP. That is it here. That comes from SAP that has been updated. Okay, and now if we check here again, so you see here again, so that is here the item that we have created in the SharePoint list that has been triggered. And then we have here the custom connector that called our REST service. And here you see the input data that comes from the SharePoint list, for example. And then here you get the result here from the SAP that include here the sales document number and some other data, for example here messages, and that's important if you have a warning or some error and so far. And then after that we are just updating the SharePoint item here with the number that comes from the SAP system. Okay. So that's all. And now if I go to my SAP system, so I have that SAP sales order in the SAP system. So what's important for me is to show you here the custom connector. So as I have told you, as you see, we have used a custom connector, and that custom connector is just calling our web service. As you see here, when I define that custom connector, in the definition we see we have the host where the REST service is running, where we are installing our product Unio, and that's offered as a web service. We define here a security and so far. For example, we need username and password, and then here we define the web service. We define here, as you see here, we have the URL and so far. Okay, so I would not go now in all details, but here we have, and we can test that and so far. Now I would like to go directly to Unio and show you that how we can work with Unio, how we can define that. So here I have the Unio designer. As you see in the Unio designer, in general, you would start with defining here a connection to your SAP system. So for example, here I have, you create here, click on add connection, you define the connection name, the SAP application host, the instance number. You have here two options. You can connect to load balancing. You need the SAP client and language number. And as I've told you, you need an SAP user with the access rights required for your scenario. Here I have prepared a connection. So as you see here, I have here a test system, an SAP test system. I am connected here with this client and this instance number, and that is here my users for that. I can click here on test connection, and you see that's here successful. Okay, perfect. So now we have here the connection, and then here I can define my services, my REST services based on different possible types in SAP. As I've told you, or we can start, for example, here with getting some data from the SAP table overview. Okay, let's call it red customer, for example. That would be here my service name. I can here write some description. I'm using here the SAP connection. I would use the SAP table or view component to connect to the SAP system. Let me click save and edit, and now I can search either by name, by table name or view name, or I can search by description, for example. So I would like to sort for some customer master data. Okay, so you see I can here define that. In general, it's easier if you have the table name, so you can search directly for the table name. So in this case, for example, I have here this table. So when I click on the table, so I have all the metadata of the table. So I see here all the available columns and description. In general, I can just select the columns that I need. So in my case, I would select just some columns. This one here for the customer number, the country key, and the customer name, and maybe here the customer city. So that's all. I can here define a where clause to filter that. That's possible. And then just click on save. Okay, and now you see that here, that is here my REST service that has been created. I have used here the table type connector. I am connected to the SAP system using this connection, and now here I can run the service directly to check that. So let me click that here, and now here it's open and directly in the browser, and I get here my JSON data, as you see. And if we can check just an item, so as you see here, I have the 4 columns that I have selected. So that is the customer number, the customer name, the customer country, the customer name, and the customer city. Okay, so that is here the REST service. I'm able to test that. What we offer, and what's very important, is we offer here directly the Swagger or Open API definition. That's very helpful. For example, I can test that directly in a Swagger inspector, for example here, or I can use that to create the custom connector on the Power Platform. On the Power Platform, you can directly create a customer connector using the Open API definition. So that would be not the focus today on how to do that, but here for you, just here, you can just click here on download. And as you see now, here you have the Swagger file for that. That is it. Let me call it here red customer. Say okay, and if you like, we can open that here a little bit, and that is just a default Swagger definition. Yeah, Swagger definition here of the REST service. So what we can do is, if I go now here to the Swagger inspection, I can let me here delete that. I can load now here my Swagger definition. Let's say okay. Okay, so it has been parsed now, and now I can. Okay, let me here. Okay, that's fine now, and let me here reload it. Okay, and now as you see now, I have here my REST service. I can click now and send, and you see now I have here the result. Yeah? So you see here I have a customer from US, I have customer from the E that stands for Germany and so far. And now if you'd like to create a filter, that can be done here just by calling the web service. I can define that here in the body, as you see. I can define here a where clause, a filter, and this filter will be transported to SAP. That would be executed on the SAP side. Yeah? Let's say, for example, we would like here to create a filter on the customer country, and we would create here a filter for country code equal US. So let me send that again. Now I get the result again from the SAP, and you see I have filtered that I have only US customers. Okay, that's the same here. Let's try that with the other value to check that, and as you see here, that's all successful. Okay. For comparison, if we go now to the SAP system, so here you see the SAP connection details. So that's what I have used. For example, when I create my connection. Let me now here just log in to the SAP system. To this client here again, I need the SAP user. Okay, and here, for example, in SAP, when I would like to get that master data from the customer, so let me go to this transaction where I get here the possibility to define the table name. So that was the table name for the general data in customer master, and now I can just check the results. Yeah? And here you see that is here the same data. Yeah. Okay. And sure, here that's the same in SAP. I would like here to filter. Yeah, I can here create here a filter. Just set country equal US, and that would be here similar. Okay, so everything here, what you have in a SAP table, so it can be master data in this case, it can be description, it can be transactions, and so far. As you have seen, you can create here a REST service directly in Union and offer that as a REST service, and you can consume it from everywhere. Every tool that understands the REST service, and you have here the Open API definition that you can use it here in our case in Power Platform to create the custom connector. Okay, if we go now to SAP, and let me show you another option. If you'd like to, for example, to use a function in SAP, a function in SAP is used to read and write data. Yeah. So in the first use case, we have just read data from the SAP table. It's not possible, or it's not recommended or allowed to write data in a table directly in SAP. We would use a function model. Yeah? That is the best option. And for example, let me show you here just a demo function model. Okay, and let me show you that. So that is here a function model in SAP that's called remote enabled. So that means I can access it from the external system, and I can test it and execute it. So it has two parameters. So either I can set here a customer number or a customer name. For a customer name, let me take this one here, and let me run that. And when I run it, so I get a result, as you see here, 413 rows or items, and I have now here the customers. Okay, so in this case, this function model is just used to read data. Yeah, As I saw, I have here some input parameter. So that is here the customer name, and I get the result. But we have other function modules that take a table again as a parameter, as an input parameter, for example. For example, my sales order. And then I can run that function module, and the sales order would be created in SAP. So for today, I would just show you here create a simple web service. So let's call read customers with function, just call that. So with SAP connection, that's fine for me. And here I would use the type function module in PAPI for that. Okay, let's save and edit. And here again, I can search either by the function name or by function group. So the best is to know the function name. So for that, I'm searching. So I have it here. Let me click on that. And now you have here the metadata of that. So here you have two tabs in this case. So here the parameters, and this here the tables. So in this case, my function has just two parameters, the customer number and the customer name. In my case, I would like here say, okay, the customer name should be supplied by the caller. When I call the web service, I would like to supply here the customer name. And here these are, in this case, this function model has just one tables, but we can have different tables as a result. If you'd like to have the result here in the output and the result, you just select that here. And when you click here on it, you would see all the available columns or fields in your tables. So by default, they are selected, but sure, we can unselect or just select the fields that we need. Okay, so that's so far. Now I click on save, and now here again I have that as a ROS service that is now ready to be consumed. So let's do now the same. Let's just here download the Swagger definition. And now if I go again to my inspector, Swagger inspector. Okay, so let me again here load my definition. Okay, so now the definition has been loaded. I see here in the body I have my parameter. So by the definition we have seen, I have to provide the name, the customer name. So let me do that. Let me take this one, for example, and let me send the request. Okay, and now you see I have here the result from the web service that have called that function model on the SAP system with columns with customer names starting by T. So let's here take another example and just click here on send. Okay, and here you see again the result. As easy as you see, we have created just in some minutes a REST service that runs a function model in SAP, and now that can be used. Okay, so these are, let's say, this were two options to create here a service, either to access data from a table or to access a function module in SAP to read and write data. In some use cases, for example, you don't have a function model in SAP, or you have a transaction, you have a user. You have a user in SAP who uses a transaction. Let's give you here an example. Here I have a transaction that's called here, that is the name, IE01. And when I call it, so here I have here the option to create equipment. So I can here create my equipment. So if you'd like now to create an equipment externally, I don't have a function model for that. So I need to use here this transaction directly. Okay, and that is also supported in Unio. If I go here to the Unio designer again, and here click on create a service, let's say here demo, create equipment. And here again, my connection, and now as a type, I would just select here the transaction type. As you see, that's still in preview. We are still working on that. We have now many use cases where it's running, and we are still working on new use cases and so far. So now I will type here the name of my transaction, and let's just click on start. And as you see now, I have here directly in the browser, the same interface as the SAP user has it. Yeah. So here I have, for example, here the different fields, as you see, for equipment, for the validation tape, for the validation date, and for the equipment category. Yeah. And here again for the equipment and material. So that's again, everything is available here in the browser. And here I have the whole menu. That's also here, as you see, available. Yeah, that can be here used. Yeah? So here I can define my transaction. I can define here my input and so far. Let's say here, and let me submit that. So when I submit that, as you see, I had the next step. Yeah, that is here similar. If I say here test and enter, okay, let's call it test 2. So I have here again the next step, and the next steps I have different tabs and I have different fields and so far. And now I can here, when I submitted everything, when I am ready, I can just click here on save and save that. Yeah, and then that transaction is available here as a REST service, and I can use it as you have seen. Okay, that was so far here with the live demo, where I have showed you how to create a sales order directly, for example, in a SharePoint list, and how we are using, for example, the Power Automate with the custom connector to call the REST service. To create the custom connector, we have used the Open API definition or the Swagger definition that is provided here directly by our product. Okay, that was with the live demo. What we offer is we have different references, different customers, satisfied customers from different industries. So either if you are in for example in automotive and aerospace, here you see some of our customers, and sure we would be able to find customers in your industries if you'd like to talk maybe with one of them or to see their experience with us. As Theobald Software, we also offer different services where we can help you to start. We offer an online help where you have the documentation about the product. You would find there everything, starting by, for example, what are the requirements, how you install it and configure the product. You would find the documentation about the settings, about the usage. And then we have a knowledge base where we have our best practices with different use cases. And sure, we can offer, or we offer regularly different webinars. So you are welcome to check that on our website and to join us. And sure, we offer consulting and support. That may be very helpful at the beginning. For example, if you'd like to test the software or to make a POC, a proof of concept, we would be happy to support you with that, or maybe would like to train your team or your colleagues with the product, how to use it, to implement your process and so far. And what we offer is you can download directly a trial version of the product that would be valid for 30 days. You just go to our website. We have the download form. You just fill it and you can download it directly from the website. The trial version has the full scope, so no technical restrictions on that. And you would get free support from us during the 30 days. If you have any questions, if you need any help, and so far, you would get all that for free. Okay, that was so far from my side. I hope that everything was clear so far. And now I would be happy to see your questions and to discuss that with you and see how we can help you with that.
Thanks, Coder. We do have one or two questions in, and there's still time to ask questions if anybody wants to pop a question in the questions window. So the first question is, we are using SAP SuccessFactors in our company. I would like to know if this is compatible with Yoon.io. I could not find any information about this in the documentation requirements on Theobald online help.
Okay, thank you for the question. Let me go back here to the slide where we have talked about okay. So as you at the moment, what we support, as you see here, Shore ERP system, S/4HANA system. So that are technically the SAP system that support RFC connection or FC connectivities. Yeah. So only the systems are supported at the moment. That means SuccessFactors is not supported. Yeah. We are focusing on at the moment on this SAP systems.
Okay, thanks, Coder. A couple of more questions. Is it possible to connect more than one SAP system?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, I can answer that question. So here you see in Unio, here I can define the connections to my SAP system. So here, as you see, I have just one connection, but as you see here, I can create a new connection. I can add connections, and then I have different connections to my different SAP systems. No problem, that's available. And then later when you create the service, as you see, you create here a service, and then you select here the connection, you select to which SAP system you would like to connect. So yes, that's possible. You can connect to different SAP systems.
Okay. Can I use it to sync data between SAP and Salesforce?
Okay. Yeah, Salesforce, that's a nice use case. We have different customers who use that. So sure, when you have Salesforce, you would need some SAP data in Salesforce, or even when you create that in Salesforce, you would like to sync that back to SAP. That's all is possible. As we have seen here in the webinar, in the live demo, what we offer here is the REST service, and in that REST service, we have just to consume it, for example, in Salesforce, or we have customers who are using the Power Platform, and the Power Platform they have access to Salesforce, and they have access here to the REST service with the custom connector. So sure, yes, that's supported. And for more details, please contact us and we can work on that together.
Okay, just the last one. Is it possible to restrict access to services to specific users or groups?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So here you see in our product in Unio, you can define here users in groups. Yeah, so that include Active Directory users, Active Directory groups, and so far. And when you define that, then here you have the access control, and you can restrict here the server access. Yeah, so you can restrict to specific users and specific groups who can access the server, who can access the connections and the services and so far. So yes, that is part of the product and that is supported so far.
Okay, great. Thanks, Coder. That was the last question we had. So just on behalf of the ESPC community, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was a great webinar and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Orla, for the organization. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thanks everybody for attending. This webinar and more will be available on the SharePointEurope.com Resource Center. So thanks again and goodbye.
Goodbye.